All right. Hello and welcome to the PlantFueled Femme. Today we have Stephanie with us, and Stephanie is a nutritionist out of Australia. She does work worldwide and working with women and helping them heal their relationship with food. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or morning and
Yeah, thank you
early
so
morning in
much.
Portuguese.
Yeah, morning. You got me out of bed.
Yes, that's awesome. Well,
All
thank
for
you.
good reasons. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Stephanie, I am curious, how did you kind of come into the coaching space?
Yeah, actually, this month is my seventh year anniversary. Um, and this time, 7 years ago, I was pregnant with my third baby. Had a more of a difficult pregnancy where there was definitely a lot of pain happening, could barely walk. Was looking forward to going back to nursing. So I was a nurse previously, and I thought that was a career I would always have. And sadly was not the case. And it wasn't realistic to do a refresher course either. So I had to pivot. When I pivoted, I found myself in a world of healthy supplementation program that helped with family-wide. So it was not just helping myself with the difficulties I had with pregnancy, but it was actually going to be a healthy supplementation for my other children and my family as a complete package. So I thought, hey, let's do this. And then I could realize I could coach these women as well with their eating habits, the way that they viewed themselves with exercise and food. And then I later on down the track pivoted again. I really enjoyed the supplementation. I really helping the women. So then it got me down the path of nutrition, and it got me down the path of NLP practitioner work, which is all of that juicy, deep mindset stuff. And here I am 7 years later, and I've packaged all that up together. I help women to ditch the diet, rebuild their food relationship and the relationship that they have with themselves. And I, I teach them something that I don't think women do a lot of, which is eat from a place of love.
Oh, no, you're so right. I think that they don't.
They don't. And that was definitely the case for myself as well. Like in the previous years, I did have disordered eating patterns.
Mhm.
I was on that binge restrict cycle and I was jumping from diet to diet, and something had to give and something had to stop. And so going down the path of becoming a nutritionist and NLP practitioner helped me to recover some of those disordered eating patterns. And now I get to help other women to break free from that cycle as well.
Right. No, that's amazing. That's so exciting. I think that
Mm.
anyone that's in this space that is passionate about what they're doing is in this space because we had a specific experience. And we know that if we are dealing with this, then there are other women dealing with this. And if we can help them, it's so amazing. So I love that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely enriching.
It is. But I think you're right. Women don't often, not to say that they don't, but not often and not many don't approach food with love. It's like you said, the binge and restrict and the reward and the deprivation and, eating for all the wrong reasons of, um, being lonely or being overwhelmed and using food as a coping tool. And I think that's wonderful of what you're doing, in trying to help women find that truth that fueling your body is loving yourself.
It is loving yourself. And I came to this realization that I'm a foodie. I love food. I love eating. And I deprived myself of that. And I'm surrounded by food every day. Like we grew up in a pub. I grew up in a pub. So we were in the hospitality industry for 24 years. And we I grew up with family who are all avid cooks as well. So, all the delicious, rich baking, always creating something. And I restricted myself of that love, of the love of food, the love of creating food, love of creating recipes. I restricted myself of that because I felt a huge need to shrink myself to be more accepted or to meet society's perfect measure. And I was so convinced that the number on the scales was what was going to help me feel happy and confident in my skin and my body. And so I used food as a punishment and reward system. When I felt great, I'd allow myself to eat. When I felt shit, I'm not eating today. I'll restrict myself. So
Right.
I definitely see in today, like there's a lot of women who they're eating from this same place as I just spoke of, or they're eating from a place of stress, like I've got 20 minutes for lunch, I
Mhm.
gotta, scoff something down before I go back to the heavy work schedule. It's trying to eat around the kids and their schedule. There's just a lot of stress, there's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of like self-worth dieting. There's not a lot of eating from love.
Right. No, you're 100% right. So I think that a lot of women can absolutely relate with that. The scenarios you painted sound very, very familiar to me. I know I've been in those places, and I don't think we've ever had a single client come in that hasn't been. But what what do you think, or do you think that our current diet culture has, an impact on how women perceive themselves and how they perceive food?
I think there's a lot of heavy influence around what picture perfect looks like. And there's definitely a heavy culture in diet where, oh, try the fasting diet or try the flexible eating diet or, you know, um, gluten free because gluten's bad. I think there's a lot of women who have been on this yo-yoing for so long that their real issue within themselves is not bloating because they're fat, but bloating because they have a stuffed up digestive system. And I find a lot of my clients they have this digestive issue, their gut health is has been diminished. They can't tolerate certain foods, and when they do eat the certain foods, that's when they bloat and they think, "Oh, I just need to decrease calories, or I need to eliminate gluten in my diet because now gluten is something I'm allergic to," and that's not necessarily the case. But I think because diet culture is this multi-million, profitable industry, people will just keep jumping. They'll keep jumping from one thing from the next. They'll see a skinny woman happy in her body promoting a product or a diet, and they think, oh, that's what I need to do next. Whilst I see a lot of that, I do believe that the diet culture so it's still a heavy influence, but I do believe that some women are trying to pivot that and they are coming in from a place of like body confidence at any size, health at any size and shape. I do see that messaging coming up a lot, but I don't know whether that's because I'm in that space that
Mhm.
I'm now seeing it in my feeds as opposed to the other stuff, which is, all the diety jump on this program stuff.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
There's so many programs, and I think there's a tendency because learning to love yourself and learning to feed yourself because you love yourself is hard. Like
Mm.
it is hard to work through the mental and emotional aspect. And I think it is an easier solution for many women out there to program hop, to go from this coach to this program to that program. Oh, we'll try, this trainer, his clients had good results, so we'll go over there, and without ever changing any of that foundation. And it's kind of sad because, well, without changing the foundation, like you're talking about, really it comes back down to gut health and our relationship with ourselves. If we don't change
Mm.
those things, we'll continue program hopping until we're 90.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they all just think they just need more accountability, a better coach, a better program. This one didn't work, oh, the next one will. But it all just comes down to just how they think about themselves in the first place. And it's probably really poor.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Mm.
So since you're seeing also a lot of these, these same kind of scenarios, what is like just maybe a simple tip that someone could do to maybe start to shift the balance just a little bit, and start to maybe approach things more from a space of love versus restriction?
I think, a lot of people are heavily on the no. They have like food rules.
Oh,
And
yes.
so, yeah, so they have this idea that some food are really good and some food are really bad. Don't eat the bad stuff, not allowed it. And so there'll be women who are like, don't have chocolate in my house. I can't have chocolate in my house. It will not last 2 seconds. I'll eat it. It'll all be gone. And then I can't control myself. The problem is they're so focused on trying to control themselves, and the heavy no is there that's why they're binging in the first place.
Right.
And so in my coaching, the first thing I tell them is don't say no. Saying no is just creating a little mental tantrum, a little emotional tantrum. And the minute you do get your hands on it, because you've said so long no to that item, that's when you lose control. I love testing my clients and I say, put the chocolate in the fridge. Say yes, I'm allowed to have some, and watch how your behavior changes around that, right? Yeah, I'm going to have a square of, the chocolate or the chocolate bar. See what changes when you walk away with that square. How much happier do you feel? You don't feel restricted. You're not throwing a tantrum, and you have control, and you're able to tap in and go, okay, that was really satisfying. I really enjoyed that. Why am I saying no? And then, yeah, you know what? If you want another square, go back for another square. You have that control. You have that ability to tap in and go, all right, now I'm done. Now I'm happy. I've had my chocolate. I haven't restricted. I'm so much emotionally stronger now. I'm not going to, slap the husband across the face because he's taken it and eaten it himself. Like you have that ability. It's just that we're so focused on control that that's where we lose control.
Yes, no, it makes perfect sense. When you're working with someone, and you're working through a situation like this, because I believe the same thing. Like we should definitely not be telling ourselves no. I mean, there's foods that you don't want to eat because they're going to make you feel poorly. Like, we can't
Mm.
live off of McDonald's and we can't live off of French fries and ice cream. We'll feel very poorly. But if we do not have those strong rules of good foods and bad foods, and instead foods that make us feel good and foods that maybe don't make us feel so good, it's a huge help. But sometimes I think there is still a struggle in the control, like in being able to have that one piece, because I can have, and I know that you can have a piece and I can have a piece, and we're fine. But I think some women still struggle with, well, how do I not eat the whole bar, because they've, every time that's been around, they've eaten the whole bar, so they have no trust in
Mm.
themselves. So how could they work to establish that trust?
I love working with affirmations, and not one that you just Google for and just, I'll Google a good affirmation to practice and it lasts 2 seconds because it's not personalized and it's not in alignment with what they really need to feel and hear and remind themselves of. And sometimes we need to sit down there and we practice what self-trust looks like and what self-boundaries look like and going through the process of trusting ourselves again. And sometimes that is literally putting the bar of chocolate in front of them and trusting themselves to know when to stop and trusting themselves to know when they've had enough. And that, you know, they can stuff up, trust themselves to make mistakes and go for the binge as well. Like there's lesson in failure. So it's that process of going, all right, let's put the chocolate in front of us. Let's see what happens when we have one piece. How do we feel about that? Do we trust that if we go for another piece, we can have it without going into guilt mode and shame mode and embarrassing ourselves? Can we trust that we're open to having more without the self-degrading negative talk? And can we trust that maybe two pieces, maybe three pieces is when we finally feel satisfied? And beyond that, can we trust that there's other tools that we can tap into for emotional support without the binge eating and the food as the tool? And what does that look like? And it might be that they need to go for a walk, or they need to go and read, or they need a glass of water, or they need to sit down and have a cup of tea. Maybe it's need to calling a friend. Like the chocolate will be there, but what other tools can we trust that will help us with that emotional thing that we're going through, or what else can satisfy us?
Right.
Mm.
No, those are such good tips. And I love that you said it's an emotional thing you're going through, because it is. We've turned to food as a coping mechanism. There's
Yeah.
plenty of coping mechanisms, but I think that, food is one of the easiest coping mechanisms. And it's it's not that it's bad, it's just that it does cause complications in your health. And but I think it's not really understood that it is an emotional issue. So, and instead they just have the guilt and the shame and the blame and
Mm.
trust. So,
Yeah.
what are
I
some
think too, though, once they realize that if their gut health is, needing repair and it's damaged, right, certain foods will trigger them. But when gut health is in real check, it's the bad stuff that they're labeling, the food that's labeled as bad is actually going to help them with repairing their gut as well. Because all of the bad gut bacteria helps to teach the good bacteria how to act. And that helps create the balance in the gut flora. So once they understand, all right, there's an emotional level, there's a physical level, and then there's like a cellular level that's going to benefit as well, then it becomes a more holistic approach. It's not just about like, don't binge, control, no control. It's okay, it's going to tick all these other boxes as well for me.
right? Okay, that is super powerful. And going back to the beginning where you were talking about gut health being such an important factor in the binging, um, what are like the foods that you like to use when you're working to build back up the gut health?
I love to talk about gentle nourishment. So, for those who have been in the world of binge restrict, um, and building self trust that we touched on as well, what does gentle nourishment look like? And that's really just a balance of craving and making it a little bit healthier. It's in the enjoyment of food, the thing that we may have labeled as bad previously, but leveling up and adding some greens or adding something more high protein to create, a fuller environment. It's gentle nourishment is allowing them to experiment and reach outside that comfort zone in a really safe, trusting environment.
No, I love that, because like you said, things that we thought were bad can often be made more healthy.
Mm.
Yes, I do. I absolutely love that. Um, so when we look at food as a whole, we want to, of course, stop labeling our foods good foods and bad foods, and
Mm.
come more from a place of is this going to nourish my body? And I
Yeah.
think when we do that, it kind of fits in with what you're saying about the gentle nourishment.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah. Um, and it could be things like it's literally things like, all right, I feel like toast. I really feel like toast. And in Australia, Vegemite and toast is great, but it's not fulfilling enough. Okay. So my Vegemite and toast is like bedazzled. It's got an egg on there. It's got avocado. You put all that together, then suddenly it's a meal. And not only are you getting that satisfying for that craving, like having my toast, that's what I really craved, but you're also getting the nourishment side of things. It's going to keep you fuller for longer, which prevents the binge because you're all of a sudden starving again. It will allow you to see through work for a few hours and then schedule a next break to eat something more fulfilling and more satisfying in the next break. So it's a package deal. Yeah, like it really does connect the two. The other thing too is like gut and brain are so heavily connected that when you're satisfied in the belly, you're going to be satisfied mentally, right? But not only that, like when we talk about serotonin, and those amazing happy hormones that help us mentally happy, they're not created inside the brain, they're created inside the gut. So if you're eating shitty and you're talking shit about yourself, that's a vicious cycle, babe.
Yes, it really, really is. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that our the majority of our feel-good hormones are made in the gut. It's kind of wild. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And like you said, if you're not eating right to nourish the gut, you're not going to produce enough. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And
Mm.
it's so wild. But you're 100% right. The gut and the brain are so related. The gut plays even a huge role in our immune system. So if,
Oh,
we're not
100%.
nourishing
Yes.
ourselves, yeah, we're more likely to, have catch this every single seasonal cold.
And I don't have time to be sick. So look after yourself, avoid the sickness. Yeah, too busy.
Definitely too busy. And I know, like, when the kids were younger, they would bring home every single bug from school, it seemed like. And it was always a challenge, to make sure that we were doing everything that we could with food and with supplementation to keep immune systems healthy, so that even if we did catch it, hopefully it was much more short-lived and not anything severe.
Yeah, the daycare bugs, they're
Yes.
excruciating. It's like you just get over one with the kids and then there's another. And
Yes.
oh, it's never ending in daycare. It's like, let's do a really good thing and just subject them to all of the bugs. And then hopefully by school, we're done with them. But it means sometimes the whole house has got to experience it too.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they bring home some pretty powerful things.
They do. They do. Mm.
Yes, no, the immune system, your happy hormones, how your brain functions. Well, even like going into to hormone health, that's going to be impacted by your gut health as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's gut health impacts so many things. Like people will come to me like, oh, I'm so tired, I've got this brain fog. I'm putting on weight, but I'm not eating much. Oh, I think it's my hormones. And it's like, well, it's probably all those things, but let's just focus on one thing. Let's just focus on gut health and see how many other things are suddenly solved.
Yes. No, it's amazing because so many things do like just kind of fall into place once we start improving our gut health. Um, like with our new client questionnaire for the personal training clients, we have this triangle of awareness, and there's like longevity and performance and aesthetics for goals, and they're supposed to pick one. Half of them will pick all of the goals, but I've had a few recently that pick longevity, and I'm like, that's a great goal, why did you pick that? And they've actually said to me, well, if I pick longevity, we're going to focus on total health, and if I'm really healthy, those other pieces of performance and looking the way that I want to will fall into place. And they're 100% right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm.
I've been so happy when I've had those couple clients lately. I'm like, oh yes, you have that's approaching this with the right mindset, because if you work on the foundation, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, I kind of reverse engineer when someone comes to me because more often than not, there is sometimes a weight loss goal, an actual weight loss goal, but everyone has something in common, which is I just want to feel confident in my skin and my body.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. But lose the focus of having to lose weight. Don't worry about losing weight. Let's focus on nourishing yourself, eating better with better habits, better behaviors, mentally, emotionally, physically. The weight loss will happen.
It
That's
will.
like the bonus. It's not the aim.
Right. I
Mm.
I wish that it did, they did come in more often with that kind of mindset. I think that's really the mindset we need to have around health and wellness and aesthetics and performance and all of that. Because if your foundation, your gut and your hormones and your brain fog and all of that are basically in the dumps, we're not going to get the scale to move. I mean, you could, but it's going to be just another stress on your body, which will just make all of those problems that you're currently having worse.
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly what I see with my clients.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Mm.
I think, it goes back to our diet culture. Like it's a huge profitable industry, and there's millions of coaches, and there's millions of coaches that will tell you what you want to hear rather than what you need to hear.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the personal approach. It's like no cookie cutters here. This is not something that worked for one person is going to work for you. What
Right.
is happening for you personally? Let's work on that.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because not everyone is the same. So it doesn't make sense, what your neighbor is doing for weight loss or fat loss or even health isn't necessarily the same thing that you need to do. So even if you copy their exact plan, it's probably not going to have the same results for you because you're not them.
Yeah, 100%. Different beliefs,
Yes.
different cultural background, different body. Let's just start there. Different body, different needs. Like,
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. And like, thinking even just the different body, there's so many variables with DNA and epigenetics and your past history, like whether it's dieting, whether, it's not dieting, it's just health, whether it's past trauma, all of those things compile to make you you and your unique person. So every diet, every program you do is going to have a different impact on your body.
yeah, a lot of my journey came from conditioning, even. So it wasn't even my own issue, it was somebody else's. I grew up watching my mum in the mirror just pick herself apart. Like she was always on this wager with her sisters on the next diet, counting calories and tracking points, and always looked in at herself in the mirror and never felt confident. And she was always saying, "Oh, do I look frumpy? Do I look like what was the thing she'd say? Mutton dressed as lamb," she'd say, or she'd go dress shopping to find something that would make her feel better for the next event, but still question herself 100 times over before she actually left the house. Sometimes even in the car on our way to that event.
Oh my,
Are you sure I look okay? Are you sure I don't, rah, rah, rah. It was always the case. And I remember I was in the change room with mum one time and I broke down because I saw a number on the tag of the item and
oh,
I thought, oh my God, that's more than what it was last time. That's a bigger number. Oh, this is not a good thing. This is a really bad thing. Now I'm fat. Now I'm overweight. Now I'm not supposed to be confident in my skin. Was conditioned to believe that women weren't supposed to feel good in their bodies. They weren't supposed to look in the mirror and go, oh my God, you look amazing today, right? That was never a thing. And my mum did something I think any mum would do in that moment and just try to reaffirm that child. And she stood there, she goes, Steph, I don't know what you're so upset about. You're beautiful, you're amazing, it doesn't matter what size the dress was. That you have nothing to be concerned about. So many women, I would die to have a figure like yours. And the thing was, I was going through puberty, so I was growing hips and boobs. Like that was all it was. It wasn't that I was getting bigger or fat. But I looked at mum and I'm like, but I also think you're beautiful. Why do you still have an issue? You're not embodying that truth. So
right.
why do that doesn't work for me? That reassurance and the affirmation right there, that doesn't work for me because I also think you're beautiful and you hate yourself. You don't, excuse me, you don't have confidence, you don't have self-esteem. That doesn't that doesn't work here. But I obviously now it took me all those years to figure that out and it took a whole lot of other tools and recognitions and self-awareness. But looking back, I remember those moments and I remember those conditioning moments that played a huge role with my eating journey and the way that I viewed myself and the food relationship that I have today. So, as you say, like there's so many different aspects to a woman and what works for them, it doesn't work or does work for another woman. But just coming back to that, like there's so many different factors that play a role, and conditioning was one of them for me.
Right. Yeah, I
Mm.
completely didn't even think about conditioning in the moment, but I think that a lot of women can, probably even relate to that story. I know that I can, and it does. You're right. When they give you the reassurance after you have a moment where you feel like they do, it doesn't matter because you really don't believe them, and it takes decades, really, like you said, and lots of other tools and supports to unlearn.
Mm. Mm. It's a messy thing to unravel.
It's actually ridiculously messy, but yes, but once you do, it's worth it. And then if that is at the core of some of the eating difficulties then you have, then it is absolutely worth unraveling.
Absolutely. And, I've been at my heaviest, I've been at my skinniest, I've been at my healthiest, and I've been at my unhealthiest. And you know what? None of those matters. You're still going to have the mindset and beliefs. You're still going to hate yourself at some point. You're still going to love yourself at some point. So you might as well love yourself, right? Because that's easier to do. It's happier. It's um, easier to live life when you feel happier and confident about yourself, right?
Right.
And it takes so much less energy to love
Oh my
yourself than
gosh,
what it is to
yes.
hate yourself.
Yes, it certainly does. Which should be, an incentive for all the women out there that are so exhausted.
Mm, yeah, and it is. It is exhausting.
Oh my gosh, it is. I agree with you 100%. Um, well, I think we have covered a tremendous amount of, topics: gut health, mental health, self-love,
Mm.
restriction, nourishing yourself. Was there anything else you wanted to add in for our listeners today, Stephanie?
Yeah, you know what? Next time you look at the scales, when you jump on the scales and you see that number, that doesn't, you can't weigh confidence, you can't weigh love. Okay. So ditch the scales, throw them in the bin. I literally did this, and my husband hates me because he can't weigh himself. But it was a point where I was like, I'm sick of seeing this number and letting it tell me how I should feel about myself for the day. So I ditched them. I threw them in the bin. I no longer jump on a scale that tells me how I should feel about myself, because you cannot physically measure love and body confidence. You cannot. So don't.
All right. No, that is so true. You really can't. Um, that could almost be a whole nother conversation in itself, but I agree. You can't measure confidence. No one is going to go to your funeral and remember how much you weighed. So that's such a good point. Well, thank you so much for your time to joining us today, Stephanie. If someone wanted to find you or learn some more about what you do, where could they find you?
Yeah, sure. You can definitely follow me on Instagram. I'm Steph Notley Nutrition. And I actually have a Ditch the Diet quiz that some of your viewers might actually like to tap into, just to see if dieting is actually reaping more havoc and harm than what it is good.
Well, in my experience, that's usually the case, but yeah, they might want to find out.
It's there.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephanie. I appreciate you making the time and getting up early to have this conversation. I know I certainly enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure that our listeners will find it valuable as well. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me and getting me out of bed. And it's going to be a lovely day today because I'm up. I've had really hearty conversations, and it's been an absolute privilege to be a part of this. So thank you so much, Clarissa.
Are welcome.